People working in television, when an actor finds out her character is about to be killed off, how does that go down, and have you ever witnessed it going poorly? I'm an aspiring actor that was working as a stand-in for one of the leads in a TV show. It was stable work but paid very little. I would basically stand in place for the actor while the director sets up the lights. I found out my actor's character was getting killed off. Apparently the actor that I was standing in for was P and didn't show up to work, so they used me instead as a body double for his death scene. I got paid his daily wage and got into the actors union as a result. Thank you, disgruntled actor. I hear the actors union is a big deal. I work on a local soap opera. The actors are paid very well, but some tend to get lazy and usually revert to playing themselves, not really acting. These are the ones who take it badly. I heard of one guy pleading to be kept on. We estimated that they'd earned about £80,000 a year for the 20 years he'd been in it. That kind of money is hard to do without. He wrote a book after he left, which was basically a rant against the producer who fired him. I remember that on one of the last episodes of Attack of the Show, they interviewed a guy from Sons of Anarchy, and he said that they are always waiting for the character they play to be killed off. If I remember correctly, he said they have a bet on who will be the next one gone. I thought this comment was going to be about how Attack of the Show handled being cancelled. I know that Sebastian Roche and Richard Spade Jr. have been trying to get back on Supernatural somehow ever since their characters were killed in seasons 5 and 6, which wouldn't necessarily be impossible considering that characters have come back from the dead before. In the meantime, they both still go to all the Supernatural conventions and hold Q&A panels, photo ops with the fans, so they seem to be taking it pretty well. Dang, those are two that I really would like to see again. 2. Supernatural never seems to know when to introduce a new character or when to bring someone back. A lot of people just mysteriously disappear and are never referenced again. I worked for a local soap opera. That kind of thing happened quite regularly. There would be tears and then most often the actor/actress would become lazy and turn up for work late, not learn their lines, etc. However, some of them would realize they are soon to be out of work and use their time left to rehone their skill and become way better than they ever were. I was the actor that got killed off, managed to score a role on a soap opera here in Australia, was only in a handful of episodes, but it was the sort of character that could pop up every now and again, so I had my fingers crossed that that might happen. A couple of months after my first appearance, they told me the character was coming back. I was very happy. I was doing lots of other stuff, but I would be happy to drop in on the series every now and again. A bit of semi-regular work as an actor is nothing to be sneezed at. I turn up for a wardrobe fitting a week before I was shooting. They hadn't given me scripts yet. You really do get them at the last minute, so didn't know what I would be doing. The makeup woman comes in and says they have to check my hair to make sure it is the same as the wig they're giving to the stuntman. Stuntman? Turns out my character was being killed off. He was going to fall down a sewer, and spend an entire episode lying on the sewer floor slowly dying in the most dramatic way possible, saying things like "I'm so cold" and "tell my wife I love her." It turned out to be lots of fun. Hilarious. I was disappointed that I wouldn't be returning, but not too upset. Would have been nice to have an ongoing role, but if you're going to leave a series, it's best to do it in style, and lying in the bottom of the sewer is so stylish. It happened to me. I spent 2 years on a network TV show and was killed off right before the end of my second full season, 100th episode, to be exact. Every show is, of course, different. If you were on Oz, The Sopranos, or Boardwalk Empire, for example, there's a chance every script contains your, usually gruesome, demise. I know actors from those shows who turned every page with dread. In my case, my show had no history of consistently killing characters, either from the main or guest cast. I was lucky enough to get a call from the show creator about a week before the script came out, telling me the unfortunate news: my character was not long for the earth. The good news? It would be a shocking, gory and memorable end, and I would get a decent funeral, more than most dead characters on TV can hope for. I had to keep my trap shut both before the script came out, and then after the episode was shot. I had a week to grieve my imminent unemployment, and then, off to work. The show creator lived up to his word, though. There were blood packs, exploding glass pellets and a pretty decent Sonny Corleone impersonation. My character was officially dead. Of course I had to come back the next few days to shoot early scenes from the episode, but it was official. A few days later I was given a nice going away party, turned in my id, and pulled off the lot. I was bummed for a while after that. I really liked that job, but looking back I am more grateful for a great role on a great show. They don't come along every day. I played a lawyer called Richard Bay on the ABC show The Practice. Thanks for asking. I work for a news station. When we have to tell one of our anchors they're going to be killed off, they generally don't take it very well. Go frick yourself, San Diego. My uncle was on a national soap opera, and when they were going to write him off, the storyline was going to be that he was formerly a Nazi. He has a passion for submarines and didn't want to be a former Nazi, but he would go along with being a former U-boat captain. They didn't go for it, and the last few scenes for his character had someone else playing his character as a Nazi. He had a hard time finding work for a while after that, on another national soap opera prior to getting the aforementioned one. The last scene for his character had him going up the stairs to get a computer printout. This was the early 80s. Almost 10 years later they brought his same character back on, and his very first scene was him walking down the same stairs with a computer printout. Printers were pretty slow then. My dad was also a regular character, not in every episode, on a primetime network show in the 90s, and when they wrote his character off, the character was going to be embroiled in a minor scandal. It's funny because I had to add this on after the one about my uncle, but the reason it was an afterthought was the way my dad reacted. He was professional. He was sorta bummed. It wasn't much of a thing. His appearances funded family vacations and a home remodel, but he had a full-time job that he made a lot more money with, and that was his primary focus. That computer printout thing is golden. Your dad also sounds like he's had a really neat and interesting career. Pretty cool. I wrote for a primetime show where one of the actors was very difficult to work with, so the creator of the show ended the season with that character's life in peril. He became very apologetic and tried to get his act together, so he was not written off. However, the following season he was back to the same shenanigans, leading to him being killed off after that season. He was not informed until his contract was not renewed. Jim Beaver returned to his alma mater a couple of years back to do a show. He had a Q&A with our theater department in which he talked a lot about his experiences working in television. I asked him how he reacted when he was killed off on Deadwood, and he divulged that he'd just been killed off on Supernatural as well. He basically summed it up as being both deeply sad and incredibly honored in both cases that his death was used as a major dramatic moment in each series rather than something done for shock value, and that the casts and crews seemed even more devastated at the news than he was. He considered those to be two of the greatest experiences he's ever had working. That's the kind of actor I hope to be someday. Jim is a class act. There was an old series called Harper's Island, which is amazing, and I heartily recommend, where a lot of people die, one by one, and nobody knows who's doing it. In that, even the cast themselves didn't know. They didn't get the script for an episode until they'd finished filming the previous one, and actors would be approached by one of the directors and told the bad news if their character was due for a killing. I loved this idea. The thought of the suspense for the actors, the not knowing how they died or when, must have been so fun on set, and the series itself is fantastic and well worth a watch. I loved that show. It was really good. I believe it's on Netflix unless they took it off. Actor wife here who had her husband's character declared dead the last episode of the season. The producers all said, "Don't worry, you're back next season. It's just a cliffhanger. Ha 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 ha. We know better." As an actor, when you get a job on TV you sign a multi-year contract, usually 5-year, outlining your pay, before you even actually get the part. Then if you get the part you do the job and hope to heck the show doesn't get cancelled. You don't actually know if you are on the next season until you get the letter from the network that picks up your contract. So, to sum up, you are committed for said period of time. Network isn't. So, my husband thought he was killed off. We cut all spending, didn't buy the very reasonably priced house, no vacation, No summer camp and just crossed our fingers until we finally got the letter 2 weeks before shooting for the next season started. This was 5 months after we thought we was written off. Now, just for the sake of sanity and fiscal responsibility, we cut back halfway through every year until we get the letter. TLDR, it sucks, but we stick with it and don't act like fools with our money. I don't work in television, but I have heard some stories from actor interviews, so I'll pitch in. Breaking Bad and Walking Dead spoilers follow. In Breaking Bad, Giancarlo Esposito was called in by Vince Gilligan during the filming of Open House, and he knew that he was going to get killed off, so he had fun with it and acted like Gus. He basically dominated Vince when he went into the room and scared him. He also told Vince that he didn't want Gus to die by gunshot and thought an explosion was more appropriate. For The Walking Dead, I recall that one prisoner who got stabbed by a machete was excited to be on the show and disappointed to find out he would only be in one episode. That one big, black prisoner who got shot in Woodbury found out by reading the script and he got pee. Sorry, I couldn't help more, but there probably aren't many who work in television, and if they did, it would probably be the crew and not someone who saw the first-hand reaction. The character Dale of The Walking Dead was killed off because the actor didn't want to continue with the show, so I heard. I had a summer job working security at Universal Studios in Studio City, California. Basically, we kept tourists from accidentally wandering off the tour and visiting active sets. We got an altercation in progress call to one soundstage, which was extremely rare. I got there first and watched a world-class temper tantrum by a character actor named Ed Burns, who thought he was being added to the cast of a show, I think it was BJ and the Bear, as a recurring character, but instead found out he had a one-off appearance. He kept shouting, "I'm Ed Cookie Burns, damn it. Get my agent on the phone," reminding me of Eddie Murphy as Gumby on SNL. He kept verbally abusing everyone and threatening to have them fired. My brother-in-law has been in several well-known TV shows and big-budget Hollywood flicks. He almost always gets killed off. At this point, he's perfectly fine with it and laughs it off. Not sure if it's true or not, but someone in the industry told me that on the show was that if an actor ever complained about salary, lines, etc., that the writers would have their character prison raped. Beecher never noticed the connection, I guess. Not exactly on point, but on Babylon 5, they told the guy playing Lieutenant Keffer, the pilot that is killed by the shadows in the season 2 finale, that his character would survive the attack, as they were afraid he would have a crap fit, apparently known for being a bit of a diva, and Straczynski didn't even want the character either. He was forced on him by the studio. When they told him after they finished shooting, he apparently did go nuts. Go figure. That guy is in everything, and always strikes me as a bit of a dong. Maybe that's what he's good at. In Scrubs, I think I remember hearing that right after they decided to kill off the character Lavanchi happened to mention, before she even knew she was being killed off, that she had just bought a new house or something. They ended up feeling guilty and bringing her back later as nearly the same character named Shirley. My brother-in-law is the sexiest man in soap opera. His character was killed off on The Young and the Restless. His fans were so upset a group of them flew out to the studio's headquarters to complain directly to the writers. A few episodes later, turns out it was really his evil twin brother who was killed. Many middle-aged women rejoiced. Sister worked on a film where an older actor found out a younger actor was making much more than him and then proceeded to try and burn down a set. Battlestar Galactica spoilers. In the episode Maelstrom, Kara Thrace goes down while flying inside the atmosphere of a gas giant, making recovery impossible. In filming the scene where Admiral Adama reacts to her death, Edward James Olmos's grief at what he thought was the loss of Katie Sackhoff from the show entirely took over, and he proceeded to destroy the model ship his character had been working on for much of the series. However, this was no mere prop. It was a museum-quality model ship worth well into the six-figure range that he torn apart with his bare hands. The ship was insured, so there was no major financial impact. Luckily, the cameras were rolling, and they got a phenomenal scene of raw emotion from the actor, entirely unexpected. Source: DVD commentary from Ronald D. Moore. I am a camera assistant. I worked on a TV series on HBO called Dream for 3 years. In New Orleans, John Goodman's character was written to commit suicide on the last episode. The last week of shooting the episode was kind of miserable. Everything was more difficult. He was normally a sweetheart to work with, but the last week was not. A lot of yelling at the director and arguing about props and such. Also kind of ironic. One of our writers died while behind the monitors while shooting in a busy tourist spot. I can't really think of any movie or TV show where someone is written to die, at least on a TV show. Proof: I'm Trevor Tufano. You can check out my IMDb. In one interview, George R.R. Martin said that several GOT actors begged him to not kill their career actors. Funny thing is, they were already dead. Not exactly killed off. But Bret Hart didn't react too well when he was told he had to lose his final WWF match to his real-life rival Shawn Michaels. He refused to lose and forced the WWF to have him lose without telling him the plan. He didn't refuse to lose. He offered to drop the title at any point before the PPV, or forfeit lose it on a show in the weeks after the PPV before he left. He just didn't want to lose it to Michaels in his home country. Charlie Hunnam, Sons of Anarchy, discussed this in regards to one of the show's actors on the Nerdist podcast a couple of months ago. It was a very interesting part of the interview. Check it out, OP. Not TV, but Steven Seagal apparently threw a major hissy fit on the set of Executive Decision when he found out his character was going to die after a little while. Refused to come out of his trailer. Suggested his character should survive, etc., etc. An actress I know was killed off in a long-running show. Her character had some line like, "I don't feel so well. Maybe I'll go to the doctor." Next thing the doctor is walking out, "Sorry, she didn't make it. She was pretty pee." Most of the things I've worked on, the character has been transferred out of town for work, goes to stay with a sick aunt or some crap like that. The producers pretend there's a chance of them coming back. I found out my recurring character on Veronica Mars was the rapist's assistant on when the script was delivered to me on my final episode. I was pretty bummed since it meant I'd no longer be working with some of the nicest people in showbiz. Also because I wasn't even a full-on rapist. On the plus side, a really cute woman screamed "You're a rapist" as she drove past me on the sidewalk, smiling and waving. The other people on the sidewalk were less amused. I got killed in season 2 episode 11 of Haven and I was just glad to get a day of work. Opening scene, I get turned into a mummy. It was sweet. A lead actor found out he was about to leave the show and became incredibly distraught. Guy was such a mess. Right before they filmed his last scene, the actor looks at the camera and I swear, this dude looks like he's about to cry, completely out of character, and says, "I don't want to go." It was absolutely hilarious. Crew had a good laugh, and I think the director may have even used the cut. And now that I'm done joking, I'm going to go somewhere and deal with these feelings I've accidentally created. I worked on this indie movie. One of the line-less named henchmen in the movie, gangster type movie, got killed off. He knew about it long before, of course, but he was pretty unimpressed when he got called in for a 16-hour night shoot whereupon he was going to get shot. He turns up at 1 p.m. His call time is the first person to arrive. I'm already there because I was doing day watch on the set. He's the next person to be there. 20-30 minutes of makeup. Doesn't get to leave till the morning. About 3-4ish. They don't shoot the scene where he gets shot. The most they shoot him at all is him lying on the floor, dead, in the background. It wasn't until about 6-7 p.m. they even started turning, and he'd been there since 1 p.m. They tried to call him in after the weekend. They called him that Monday morning after telling him they wouldn't be needing him that day. No surprises that he missed that call. My ex was on General Hospital for a while. They killed her. She was heartbroken, but if word gets out that you were difficult, you'll never work again. I am an actor that just recently worked on a TV miniseries as a member of the upper class in society. I had a month to prepare for my role, and the AD Dep told me that my character was ill, and my first scene revolved around my on-screen wife rushing around the house aiding the doctor care for me and my daughter. On the day of filming, I spent a good 2 hours being prepped with makeup and then guided to set through downtown Brooklyn on foot. Now this miniseries is set in the early 1900s, so as you can imagine I looked a little out of place. Once we started rolling and I was going through my actions, I quickly began to realize that my character was not going to fare well. Sure enough, my next scene involved my corpse being carried out on a stretcher, face up. Needless to say, I was slightly disappointed to have my character killed off and not be able to return to work on such an awesome set. But I was also downgraded from a principal to background because they felt that it would be more suited for my character to be drifting in and out of consciousness. That was 2 weeks ago and I'm still slightly bummed about it. James Denton from Mike from Desperate Housewives shops at the co-op I work at. Another employee, not me. I hate bugging celebrities while they are trying to buy groceries. Asked him about getting killed off of the show. He said they approached him about it and he was ready to be killed off and that it got him off set 3 months early, so he was really okay with it. I've never seen an actor just finding out, but I've been at a few farewell ADR sessions for characters killed off on a popular AMC series. Goodbyes are always hard, so is being out of work. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.